So Jake's laying there, falling asleep as sun's coming up. Jake's laying there with his belly full of food, unlike anything he's ever eaten before. Again, they've had another feast of wild boar there on their way east, up into these mountains that they're going to get over to the east coast through. And Jake's laying there and feeling all this great food in his belly. Oh, and by the way, the hawks had come and brought them some herbs from the desert, or that one hawk that's with them, and came and brought him some herbs and said, hey, this is going to mix well with your red cap that you have there. That's going to help re-energize you for the next part of the journey later in the day, because they've been moving through this desert all night long and they're finally getting a nap at dawn. And so the hawk had brought in these herbs to sort of mix that would give them this more richer, more robust rest. And so Jake's laying there and is feeling this meal in his belly, and starts realizing that has this feeling of like time's going backwards. It's getting darker, and he's in and then the stars are coming out again, and he's wondering, wow, this is really an interesting rest that he's getting now, because he's sunk in and he's really deeply resting, but he feels that he's going backwards in time, and then he sees that east star that he was pointed to earlier, that kind of it's moving east instead of as it was described to him, that the east star is is supposed to travel west over the sky like everything else, rotating with the planet, but it's moving backwards, so it's another sign. And then he sees that constellation there that Raed had been telling him about, against this constellation of this archer that's kind of on this centaur kind of archer. And then there's this planet that he's shown that he's told about, and then he starts floating up to the sky, and he's like, okay, I'm probably dreaming now. Maybe it was these herbs that I had with the dinner, and but it's really weird, because he laid down and I guess he started dreaming without even realizing he'd fallen asleep. He was like, wham, straight into dreaming, and so then he's floating up to what he was told was Jupiter. And then he's getting closer and closer, and he can see it, that he leaves the atmosphere, he sees the planet, he sees everything. He sort of has this astral travel experience, but doesn't leave the solar system. He just shoots on over to Jupiter, and then he gets closer to Jupiter, and he gets into this red, deep red, and there's these gases that he moves through, and then he gets down to this red surface, and there's this hole in the surface of Jupiter, and he goes down into the hole. And he's just sort of, following along. He doesn't have he's aware that he's dreaming. He's just observing the whole thing, not really guiding or directing it. And following along, he goes down into the hole, and then the hole at the end, he goes through this tunnel, and at the end of the tunnel there's this bright baby blue light, almost like sky, but a little, not quite as bright as blue sky, but really nice, gentle light, and eventually he comes out through the other end. He comes out, and he sees there, and he's getting out, and he's in this city, this big city, and there's all this stuff going on in the city. He comes out through like an alleyway in the city. There's this compartment that he comes out through into the alleyway. And he sees, and he looks around, and he goes, oh my god, and he looks at the horizon, and he can see at the horizon that down the road that he comes down, he can see that it's a curved horizon that's curved a little bit differently than he's used to seeing. He looks up, so he's inside of Jupiter now, but he's looking up, and he's looking into the center of the planet and across, and he just sees this big palish blue sky, and then off into the distance the horizon, and he's noticing that all the people in this city, there's no humans like him around. There's just all these creatures that are all these various cats, and also these horned creatures that he had, that like his friend Unasari, who he had met earlier in the swamp, and also where they helped rescue, and then also, they got rescued, and it was part of a show, but you can hear about that in the earlier videos. But so he's Jake's inside of Jupiter, and it's just like, oh my god, this is this giant city of cats and these creatures that are like Unasari, and they're all large creatures with these one horn and this sort of like a triceratops, bone shield around the base of the head, and they're flying. Because he'd heard about from Raed that there was this, or from the Hawks and other. He's sort of heard that the Unusari is this ancient creature, this legendary creature who could fly, and he's just told from Raed that is from the constellation of this Sagittarius, this archer character up in the sky, and then also. But now he's just in Jupiter, which he's told this stuff about Jupiter and this retro view of Jupiter through Sagittarius. But now he finds himself inside of Sagittarius with these horned creatures that are flying, and he sees that when they fly, their horns sort of they glow a little bit as they fly. So he's presuming there's this sort of magical metal in the horn that's allowing them to fly, because they don't have any means of flying. But there are these cats. There's cats of all kinds around him too, and there's these flying there's cats with these wings, and then there's cats of all different colors and stripes and everything. And you're like, wow, okay, the hawk brought some interesting herbs here. I'm inside of Jupiter apparently, and with these creatures that are, his mind has been blown just on what he's experiencing in his reality on the surface of his world, and now he's having this dream that's this epic thing. And then he sees Raed in the dream, and there's the black jaguar woman who he's on this journey with in the desert right now, and then wakes up. And Raed has rolled over on top of him, and is like, they're all getting stormed right now because in comes, of course, Unusari. Unusari comes bowling in and says, welcome to the age of the ram, and the ram is, they're singing this song for the ram, and the ram is so happy. The ram, a little mercurial. It's just like, oh my goodness, it's my time. My people are going to get to come to the surface of the planet. And so they're having this sort of, morning fire dance there, where, they're moving some logs over to get them ready for the fire and everything, and so of course, Jake gets up, he starts a fire, and they get some breakfast going, and he pulls out some of these peacock eggs that the peacock had given them some eggs earlier when they brought in word about another ram that was found north. So they get up, they start having breakfast, and Jake is telling Raed about this dream, and Raed says that we are aware actually of what happens inside of Jupiter, and we have a psychic connection to the cat people and the various legendary creatures that are inside of Jupiter. However, our ship is stuck here, and we do have the ability to have small operations move in and out, but we're actually grounded here on this planet for the purpose of getting connection to the deer, and getting, our purposes of actually coming here were to establish relations with the deer and to get a greater trade system happening for your planet and for the broader solar system. But right now, the operations inside of Jupiter, that's a temporary thing. That's not our cat people. Our cat people just happen to be, really welcomed there. But our especially people, our jaguar people, are not from Jupiter. But I'm glad that we got to meet each other in the dream there like that.